This week we're talking about grief and how it's crucial for your psychological growth. Grief is power. Anything that you're ever going to get in life that's going to be of any real value to you, it is going to be fueled ultimately by grief. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist, Viktor Frankl has a great quotation about grief. He doesn't really know it's about grief, but it is, and the quotation goes something to the effect of, live as if you were living for a second time and had acted as wrongly the first time as you're about to act now. It's a great quotation. Live as though you're living for the second time. For the first time. We all have those experiences when we want to go back if we say something stupid, anywhere from that to losing a job, losing a girlfriend, a wife, whatever it happens to be. Oh, if only I could go back and make it and fix it and make it better. Well, guess what? There is a superpower that lets you do that. That superpower is called grief. The only caveat is, of course, it's grief. And, whenever people are grieving or feeling grief, they want to get rid of it. Oh, I can't stand this. Well, maybe the real power in grief is holding on to it. Sucking all the marrow we can out of the grief whenever we're feeling it, instead of trying to distract ourselves from it. The conventional wisdom on grief is that it is caused by a loss, which I think is sort of true, but I think more specifically it's caused by regret. There's two incidences that make us feel grief. The one is a breakup. This could be breakup with a girlfriend, a boyfriend, whatever you're into, or it could be you losing a job or a business going under. And what's the thought associated with these breakups is, it's not if only I had known. It is, oh yeah, I'm not who I thought. Not who I thought I was. I thought I was this guy who could handle this relationship, but I'm not. There's something about me that is defective, perhaps. Maybe not I'm defective, shame. Maybe there's something about me that's defective. And then there's death. That's another inciting incident that causes grief. And what's the thought that's with this is what I said before is, if only I had known. If only my wife, before she died of ovarian cancer, if only we had these conversations, we just weren't talking about what's important to us. We weren't doing what was important. We did eventually, after she got sick though. And then it didn't, those conversations, those things that we were doing were important. Yeah, we went to Southeast Asia and did our trip there, but we knew we were only doing it because she was sick, right? So it loses the power. But after your wife dies, what do? You bring this power, if only. So now you have certain conversations and experiences with people when they're alive before they get sick, right? Before they die. But this is regret, caused by loss, sure. But ultimately, I think it comes down to regret. But why is grief so important? Why is it? Well, first of all, it helps us to feel any latent anxiety or anger here, any unconscious anxiety or anger, not just about the death or the breakup, but feeling the loss, feeling the anxiety about the breakup, feeling the sadness about the death. It allows us to tap into other sources of unconscious anxiety, unconscious anger. What does that allow us to do? That's awareness. Grief, especially for a lot of men, is the pathway to real emotional awareness. That's why I said in the beginning of the video, anything you're ever going to want is going to be fueled by grief. Well, what do you have to do to get what you want? You have to take certain actions. And you have to take those certain actions in a certain way, where the only thing that's standing between you and doing that is emotional awareness. And grief is the thing that helps us to expand our emotional awareness if we know how to hold on to it, if we know how to use it. To take the weightlifting analogy that I love, what's emotional regulation? Not what is it like, not what is emotional regulation like. And what I mean by emotional regulation is looking at threats coming in, looking at our unconscious sadness, our unconscious anxiety, feeling it, and then using it in a productive way. That's a neurological strain. It is a neurological stress. Nothing more, nothing less. Poet over here. Like weightlifting, like going to the gym and squatting 300 pounds, going from squatting 200 pounds to 300 pounds. It's the same thing. It's not like the same thing. Look, why do you get stronger in the gym? How can you go from squatting 200 to 300 pounds? It's because your muscles are getting bigger. They are, but they're not getting that much bigger. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're innervating. It's a good word. You're innervating your muscles. You're increasing the neurological load that your muscles, that your skeletal structure can handle. And that's all you're doing when you're regulating. And what is a great heavy squat day, heavy deadlift day? That's grief. That's exactly what grief is. It expands what you're capable of seeing. It expands what you're capable of doing and how you're capable of doing it. You can start to live for the first time as though you're living for the second time. What Viktor Frankl was talking about, expanding emotional awareness. That's all he's talking about. And all of that comes from grief. You know, in the panic attack video, I forgot what I was talking about. The panic attack video, I was saying how a panic attack is almost like your body's way of putting you through an initiation process if you haven't done that already. We look at different cultures, of course, from different continents, and they all have some initiation process for males. There's an initiation process for females. It's called menarche. But for males, they need to face death. They need to be put in a situation where they're facing death. And if you don't do that, it's almost like a panic attack is there to say, hey, you're not going to face death. You're not going to confront your anxiety. You're not going to use it in a pro-social way. Well, hey, I'm your amygdala here. I'm going to do that for you. It's part of who we are. And I think it's very helpful to look at grief in a similar sort of way. It's part of who we are. And however we want to be, whoever we want to be, we're not going to get there without grief. We're not going to be who we want to be without facing death. When it literally feels like you're going to die. Maybe being who you want to be, that comes at a certain price and you don't know it, but it is feeling like you're going to die. It is going through both of these thoughts, perhaps for a long time, perhaps for an uncomfortably long time. If only I had known I'm not who I thought I was. These are very painful thoughts, but powerful. But grief, that's what I mean by its power. It is power. Like $100 million, that's power. I'm sure having $100 million would be painful for a lot of us, especially if we don't earn it on our own. We don't have the inner resources through which we can handle that kind of power. So we want to get rid of it, and that's what a lot of people do. If they make a lot of money and they don't really earn it, or if their dad gives them a lot, right, or they win in the lottery, they hurt themselves with it. And a lot of people, if they're not ready for it, if they don't understand the purpose of grief, they hurt themselves with it. But use it like you would use a lot of money. Hold on to it. It's your security. Use it, invest it, reach out, connect it with other people. That's the idea with grief. Same thing. It's painful. I understand. And when you're having the panic attack, you really feel like you're about to die. I understand. Maybe part of working through a panic attack, similar with working through grief, is understanding that it's simply something that humans need to go through on a certain level. We need to breathe. We need to eat to be who we want to be, right? We want to live in that next day, and we need to go through grief. That's it for this week, guys. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Talk about this with one friend. That is the cost of watching this video. And work on your grief. Always remember to work on your grief so that you can live for a first time, but as though you're living for a second time.